It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a Tuesday evening. It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to your favorite sports show, ZiFM Sport, on your favorite station, ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. The top stories out of the world of sport on Top Hit Tuesday, presented by your top team of pundits. That team is Alois Munjira, the former Warriors International, Barry Manandi, not a former Warriors International. We also have Chris Midzi. Our man on digital is Tatenda Ziyambe, and the show is produced by Sean Tafirenyika. My name is Mike Madoda. Now, Zimbabwe's AFCON successful qualification campaign ended with a whimper last night after the Warriors lost 2-0 to Chipolopolo of Zambia at the National Sports Stadium. It's a defeat that leaves more questions than answers as to where the Warriors really stand in the continental mix, with Cameroon 2022 just 10 months away. No doubt you want to hear the thoughts of the team in studio. And today, being a Tuesday, we have our staple, the Formula One report, proudly brought to you by Zimoco, where world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton says the pressure the Flying Dutchman Max Verstappen put him under was immense in the Bahrain Grand Prix after emerging on top at the end of a titanic tussle with his Red Bull rival in the season opener.
And around the world in 60, we take off in Australia, where batsman Steve Smith has admitted for the first time he wants to regain the captaincy role that was stripped from him in the wake of the ball tampering scandal in Scotland. Fly half Finn Russell has been given a 3-match ban after being sent off for foul play in his side's Six Nations victory over France. And in Rwanda, the NBA's Basketball Africa League is slated to open its inaugural 14-day season on the 16th of May in Kigali.
In the middle of the show, we will have a chart topper for you because it is Top Hit Tuesday, and then we'll get into the beautiful game, beginning with some league updates where Sergio Aguero has vowed to continue playing at the highest level after Manchester City confirmed their all-time record goal scorer will leave the club at the end of the season when his contract expires. Mohamed Salah has once again thrown his Liverpool future into doubt by admitting he would be interested in a move to Spain. And in European World Cup qualifiers, aiming to keep the momentum going from their shock victory over the Republic of Ireland, Luxembourg battle Portugal tonight in Group A.
It is Top Hit Tuesday, and our power play today is by Heavy K. It's featuring Eminent Fam. It's Noba Kunini.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe.
There have been lots of views flying around on social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. So why don't you join the conversation with us specifically at ZiFM Sport is the handle you need to follow and interact with. The big story is around the Warriors. They sealed qualification in midweek, courtesy of a 1-0 victory versus Botswana, the Zebras in Francistown. That goal by Perfect Chikwende. And then a few days later, took on Zambia last night at the National Sports Stadium. We all thought it would be a big celebration. We all thought we'd get a swashbuckling performance from the Warriors and some of the fringe players that had been talked up in the build-up to this match. But what we got was an insipid display where Zimbabwe succumbed to Chipolopolo at the National Sports Stadium. The man who did all the damage is the young striker Patson Daka. Fantastic talent he is, and of course Chipolopolo are privileged to have him in their ranks. I mean, if teams were allowed, Barry, to make signings in the lead up to AFCON, if countries were allowed, surely we would borrow Patson Daka for AFCON.
we would absolutely grab Patson Daka with both hands, wrap him up in cotton wool, and take him all the way to Cameroon. He's a fantastic talent. His movement, his ability to finish, even the way that he links up play, he's world class. And I don't use that lightly. He's world class.
Absolutely world class, the youngster, and of course Zambia, like I said earlier, privileged to have him. All Warriors coach Zdravko Logarisic made 9 changes to the starting lineup that started in Francistown with Onismo Basera and Ovidi Karuru, the only players retaining their positions, which meant that Zimbabwe lined up as follows. Martin Mapisa was in goal, Onismo Basera, Takudzwa Chimwemwe at right back, Alec Mudimu and Victor Kamuka were the central defenders. Romario Matova was in the starting lineup next to Butolezwe Ngube, and of course Romario Matova was substituted in the 55th minute for Tanaka Chinyahara. Tafadzwa Rusike was in there, as was Last Jesse, Ovidi Karuru, survivor from Francistown, and Evans Rusike, who was replaced by Kudakwashe Mahachi in the 76th minute. Alois, I want to come to you, and what did you make of the performances of some of the players that people were crying out for? Martin Mapisa in goal, for example, Last Jesse in midfield, and his partner Butolezwe Ngube.
Yeah, Mike, I should say that I was kind of like disappointed with the match against Zambia, because it ended up being an anticlimax, because we would have expected the match to finish the qualifying round on a high, especially at home. You know, this is something that we need to protect. We can't just throw away a match. For me, I think, you know, kind of like throwing away, because we didn't really care about the result. We decided to use it as a trial, you know, instead of actually protecting our home advantage. You know, we need to make the National Sports Stadium a fortress. We don't have to allow teams to come here and beat us. You know, it builds confidence in the fans, it builds confidence in the team as well, so that we can actually maintain that we are getting into the World Cup qualifier just now. We need to get in there knowing that we don't lose at home. But as for the players, I was impressed with Martin Mapisa. Yes, he conceded 2 goals, but he still looked a steady goalkeeper. He is a very useful goalkeeper, but not to replace Taubet Shumba yet. Because I think Taubet is actually our number 1 at the moment. If you ask me, I would have Taubet Shumba. But for Mapisa, he is still a promising player who can actually give us a lot in the coming few years. Last Jesse is a very good player, but unfortunately he is competing in that position with a lot of other good players. But for being a reserve and somebody we can count on, I think he can be counted on if he is called upon. Then we had Tafadzwa Rusike, who actually performed very well, but I don't think that he is one for the future for us. So overall, I should say I was very disappointed with the overall performance of the Warriors, and I didn't see a lot that can tell us that we've got depth and we can have a first 11, an 11 that can replace our original first 11, and we can be confident about it. I think we need to dig deep and actually see if we can actually broaden our base for reserve players.
Now, Chris, this has been labelled by all and sundry as a disappointing performance, and rightfully so. Losing 2-0 to Zambia is something that really should make us sit up, take notice and be concerned. But it's coming on the back of, yes, we won in Francistown, but another disappointing performance. We were flat, we were defensive against a team like Botswana. And then even in this entire campaign, there haven't been really any convincing performances, save for maybe the game we played in Zambia, and we were able to get the points versus Zambia, but we haven't really seen anything convincing. So are you concerned with Cameroon 2022, just 10 months away, that Zimbabwe, we're still talking about performances?
I think definitely I'm concerned, and I'm concerned because it's not necessarily, I mean, we can take a look at our players and we can see that there's something to work with there. There's material to work with in terms of our players, but somehow we're putting up these performances that are sometimes even just difficult to watch. I think last night was a little bit hard to watch, just in terms of how the players were performing, some of the errors that they made. It was an error-strewn performance. I think that's what I can call yesterday. So I think it's disappointing that 10 months from now, this is pretty much the same group that we're going to be going across to Cameroon with. So it's tricky, and I hope that there is a very intentional plan when it comes to these preparations, if the goal is to go past the group stages.
Chris, brutally honest there, Barry, and I like that. She says it was difficult to watch. And again, you and I having a bit of a natter last night, and you asked me, okay, what substitution had been made, and I told you, listen, I've got the game on TV, but I've got my earphones, and I'm actually listening to the audio from the Derek Chauvin trial out in the United States of America. That's what I was actually paying attention to, because the game was so boring and so difficult to watch, like Chris said. However, having said that, when you take a look at the players that weren't in that starting lineup last night, Nakamba, marvelous Nakamba, you've got Kadewere, Munetsi, Billiard, Musona, Teenage Hadebe, okay? These are all players that are going to come into the starting 11. Does that give you hope that Zimbabwe can be competitive, first of all, not just against nations like Zambia, but also to go and compete against Senegal, Algeria, Egypt, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and nations of that nature?
It gives me a little bit of confidence in that the playing staff on the field is capable. They're well capable of scrapping it with the best on the continent, because let's be brutally honest with one another. Just like Chris has opened that salvo, we have the best squad in Southern Africa. Man for man, right now, we have a golden generation. So the playing staff on the field, we have no problem with. It's about what they are told to do. That's where I have a bit of a struggle, in the sense that we've seen Zdravko Logarisic having a bit of a defensive approach to his games, and that's what we're going to assign to him, because it's what we've seen. And I'm not sure if those players are best utilized as defensive players. So I'm not sure we're going to see anything pretty, anything that exploits their best talents. We saw it last night. The game meant nothing in the grand scheme of things, apart from what Aloy said, defending home advantage. Loosen the shackles, take the leash off, and let the guys go out and play. We still saw a bit of a cautious approach, a bit of hesitancy on the part of the players, and I believe it has to do with the tactics. So I think Mr. Logarisic has to consider the playing staff he's got and use horses for courses. We're an attacking country. Let's attack teams.
Let's hear from you. We're attacking country. Let's attack teams. Barry believes that we've got decent enough pieces. He's even called it the best squad in Southern Africa. Can we go toe-to-toe with the best? Let's hear from you on Twitter at ZiFM Sport, in our individual capacities at Gazaman14 if you want to have a chat with Alois Munjina, at Chris Midzi, at Barry Menandi, at Sean Tafirinyika, and at Mike Madoda. Now, talking about the possible selections for Cameroon 2020, the good thing is the next 10 months will remove any excuses that Zdravko Logarisic has around, I haven't had time to assess players, I haven't had time to prepare, I don't know the players locally, because football is going to return, and then he's going to have an even bigger pool of players to consider from. So we're going to remove that excuse. There are other things that we can't control that come out of ZIFA. Like, for example, how much are they going to invest in the preparation process? Are they going to take advantage of the friendly opportunities that are provided in the FIFA calendar, things like that. You can't just control, and you don't know which way ZIFA is going to go. But the one thing that Zdravko Logarisic controls, he controls selection. Who turns out in the green and gold of the Warriors? Now, he's been quoted widely in the last few days as saying that he was going to snub the players that snubbed him in the build-up to qualification. During the qualification campaign, there were players he reached out to, and those players, he's quoted as having said, they blue-ticked him when he got in touch. He's come out and said, now that we've qualified, I am going to blue-tick you. Is that being petty, Chris?
In my honest opinion, yes, it's being petty. But I will say this, it's being petty dependent on the goal. Okay, and depending on who these players are that blue ticked him. If our goal as a country is to go to AFCON, get past the group stages, we want the best quality players you can't then say, oh, someone blue ticked me, therefore I will not select them. Are there errors there on the player's part in terms of they shouldn't blue tick their coach? Absolutely, 100%. But for me, if you take a look at the Warriors setup, if these are players who've previously been in the Warriors setup and they're taking a look at the last round of AFCON, and the last time we were at AFCON, the preparations, they're taking a look at their treatment from the federation, they're taking a look at the fact that there were issues around their playing bonuses and their travel arrangements, in fact. If someone is taking a look at that and saying, okay, this is the setup that I'm expected to go and perform in, and they blue tick the coach who is associated with that particular organization that has been doing this time after time for years, yes, it's petty. If we need the player, we need the player. And that's just what it is.
But Chris, let me just jump in there. Then if it's about the treatment of the players and all sorts, and I'm not excusing ZiFM by any stretch of the imagination, but if it's about treatment of the players and how things have gone down in the past, then don't come at all. Don't even try to become part of the squad that's going to Cameroon, because chances are ZiFM will be ZiFM and things will likely continue the way that they've been going. So you're going to get the same result. But I do think that if Logarisic feels that the players showed a lack of commitment, which I tend to agree with, if they were blue ticking the coach, then I am 100% behind him. I think he needs his committed warriors to be on the pitch. And let me tell you, a group of 11 committed warriors is a lot better than 6 committed ones and 5 that are here, there and everywhere just trying to market themselves in Cameroon. So I feel that failure of communication by the players, yes, it's a bit of a harsh punishment, but sometimes harsh punishment is what's required.
Now, Alois, having played for the national team, having been a warrior yourself, do you buy into this hardline stance by Logarisic?
Mike, I'm with Chris on this one. I don't buy this hardline stance, because I think there's an element of of being a Hitler sort of kind of thing. You know, there are times when a player can actually decide, you know what, this game. There are a lot of issues. It doesn't take away the commitment of the players. You know, sometimes a player just does that. You know, a Dynamo's player can actually decide, you know what, hey, maybe there are a lot. It doesn't take away that commitment. But when we are going for this AFCON tournament, it's about the strongest team that we can actually have. You don't have kuchengeta chigumbu chemunhu wakani blue tick papa 10 months ago, because this tournament is 10 months time. With 10 months ago wakambondi blue tick papa saka auswin. You know, aba munhu achiperforma gorese 10 months achirova bhora zvekurova zvezvi. So you are not going because you blue tick me there. I just think probably the timing was not right. Probably you could have said these things maybe towards the tournament. If you do a misdemeanor towards the end of the tournament, then it could work. But not with 10 months to go. There's still a lot of football to be played, and then you have said you know. So for me, I don't believe in that. I don't agree.
But also there are those that will say that, you know what, communication is the very basis of respect. You've got to communicate, and the professionalism that we demand from ZiFM must be exhibited by the players. It can't be one-sided that we expect a professional ZiFM, and yet the players are allowed to get away with anything and everything merely because
they don't get away.
They have the talent. I want to go, Barry, to the case of Karim Benzema as we wrap up the discussion with France, because Karim Benzema has had the door closed by France because of misdemeanors that affected the national team, and his commitment to his fellow pros was called into question. He's one of the leading strikers in the world, has been for the last decade. France said, we don't care how good you are, we don't care what you achieve with Real Madrid. When it comes to national team assignments, you are not involved.
You know what the danger is of accepting a Benzema back, and whatever the names of the Zimbabwe players who blue ticked Logarisic is it's going to result in a camp and a national team that doesn't have any discipline, because now what's to stop Knowledge Musona from picking and choosing the games that he wants to play in? Kamabili at the same. And all the players, Ovidi Karuru, who I think is one of the most committed warriors, those players will then start thinking to themselves, why should we always be committed? Why should we go to Railton and train? No, we're not having it. We're gonna miss this one. And then all of a sudden we start having that consistency, that ability to pick the same squad is taken away, not because players are injured or anything else, but simply because we failed to manage a disciplinary issue.
Well, this one is certainly topical, and it's one way we can continue the conversation on Twitter at ZFM Sport. Let's give you a quick AFCON wrap. Malawi will be another nation from Southern Africa that's making the trip out to Cameroon after they beat Uganda 1-0 in Blantyre. My goodness, Malawi. Congratulations to them. They will be joining Burkina Faso from Group B. And then we got some business to be settled in Group E. Morocco have already qualified. Who joins them between Mauritania, Burundi, and Central African Republic? Central African Republic will be taking on Mauritania in a do-or-die encounter. Morocco takes on Burundi. Group F will see Mozambique take on Cape Verde. Cameroon versus Rwanda. Cameroon have qualified, and then any of the other three nations can still qualify. Group K has got Ivory Coast, who have booked their place, but it will be a toss-up between Ethiopia and Madagascar as to who joins them, and the action will see Madagascar taking on Niger, whilst Ethiopia have the tougher task when they travel to Abidjan to take on Cote d'Ivoire. And then in Group L action, it's Sierra Leone versus Benin. Niger will take on Lesotho, and that is, of course, Nigeria, I think, will be taking on Lesotho rather than Niger. And Nigeria, of course, have already qualified, and they could be joined by Benin or Sierra Leone.
Hi, I'm Vario's coach, Zdravko Logarušić, and you are listening to ZFM Sport.
Sports with a difference.
All right, let's give you a local sports news roundup, starting with rugby, where the Zimbabwe Rugby Union have urged local players to attend trials as they seek to rebuild a new Sables team. The players are expected to be monitored by the technical team led by team manager Jason Maritz. In a statement, ZRU said they were calling on all local players to converge at Hellenics Academy on the weekend of the 4th and 5th of April to try their luck on representing Zimbabwe. Another group has been invited for trials on the 10th and 11th of April. This is something that Alois doesn't like, national teams holding trials. He's seething right now. On to tennis news. There is a ray of hope for some of Zimbabwe's long distance runners seeking qualification for the Tokyo Olympic Games, as they are now expected to compete in Italy next month. National Athletics Association of Zimbabwe, the NAAZ, is hoping there won't be any changes which might affect their participation at the Siena Marathon in Italy on the 11th of April. The National Association want to field Munyaradzi Jari, Ngoni Dzashinube, Isaac Mpofu, and Fortunate Chidziwo at the race. Wrap it up with swimming news, where the trio of young Zimbabwean swimmers comprising Liam O'Hara, Donata Katai, and Paige van der Westhuizen has been invited to take part in this Swimming South Africa's latest leg of the Olympic trials set for Port Elizabeth early next month. The event will be held between the 7th and 12th of April in preparation for the looming Tokyo Olympics. O'Hara, Katai, and van der Westhuizen will be looking to push for qualification into the Zimbabwe team to participate at the Global Games later this year.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZFM. We are Z-Team on ZFM Sport.
Z. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
So let's take our Formula One report proper, where Lewis Hamilton said the pressure the fantastic Max Verstappen put him under was immense in the Bahrain Grand Prix after emerging on top at the end of a titanic tussle with his Red Bull rival in the season opener. Combining an adventurous Mercedes strategy with expert tyre management, Hamilton withstood an onslaught from Verstappen in the closing stint to win by 0.7 seconds. Let's hear from Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, I'm so happy. I really am absolutely over the moon just to see the the response from the team, knowing how difficult today really it was so tough. For the first race, I was not expecting that we'd be in that position to be able to keep up with them in the first stint and stuff, so I was really grateful for it.
Z.
Defending world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton beginning his quest for an unprecedented 8th title with a stirring against the odds triumph over Max Verstappen in Bahrain. Many will talk about the fact that perhaps it was more Max Verstappen making a mistake rather than Lewis Hamilton winning the race outright. What we can confirm is that Red Bull has the pace.
100%. I think we see it, first of all, from the qualifying and also just taking a look at Max Verstappen throughout that race. I think it was a nice going toe-to-toe with Mercedes, but we can definitely see that they've got the pace. I think the only difference was then the drivers, where I think Hamilton just has a bit more experience than Max Verstappen, and that's potentially what won the day for Mercedes.
No, certainly, and Max Verstappen will need to go back, perhaps, Mike, to, was it World War I or World War II in Britain, where they said keep calm and carry on, because in truth he had such a desire to go past Lewis that track limits are what prevented him from taking the pole position and being on the top of the podium in this race, rather than him not having the driving ability nor the car.
Yeah, Barry, but he had his opportunity. With 4 laps to go, Hamilton went wide and he was well within the DRS zone. And he could have made his move. But the problem is, just barely 2 laps later, he did exactly the same thing, which meant that going into the last lap, Hamilton had enough of a distance to hold him off until the checkered flag. So he'll be hoping to wipe out those basic mistakes because that's the difference now between Hamilton and the likes of Verstappen, where when it comes to the crunch, Hamilton is able to hold his nerve and do the basics just right and make sure that he gets over the line. So, but for me, just from a Formula One perspective, they would have been thrilled to have a race of this nature as the season opener, because it wasn't a dominant one-team performance. This was a race that featured quite a bit and had a lot of stuff going on, and it has now whetted the appetites of the neutrals, who believe that Red Bull, especially Max Verstappen, can launch something of a challenge. And also the fact that Ferrari finished amongst the points, both drivers, also means that they've got a sturdier car than they had last season.
It all makes for a possibly very entertaining Formula One season. It ended in Bahrain this way. First, Sir Lewis Hamilton out in front of Mercedes. Second, Max Verstappen of Red Bull. In third, Valtteri Bottas of Mercedes. Lando Norris of McLaren finished in 4th. And if you want to see how quick the Red Bull vehicle is, Sergio Perez finished in 5th. But that's not the story. The story is that he had to start the race out of the pit lane and managing to finish 5th. That's just how quick this Red Bull vehicle is. If Mercedes W12 wants to make a dent on the season, they've got work to do.
Z.
Hi, you're listening to ZiFM Sport. My name's Graham Sharp and I'm the first Zimbabwean to take on the Dakar Rally in a bike.
Z.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in Australia, where batsman Steve Smith has admitted for the first time that he wants to regain the captaincy role that was stripped from him in the wake of the ball tampering scandal. Smith skippered his country until 2018, when he was banned from the leadership for 2 years over Sandpaper Gate, which involved his teammates attempting to illegally alter the ball during a test against South Africa in Cape Town. Until now, Smith has been coy about his captaincy ambitions, saying only that he was happy to do what was best for the team. We'll head over to Scotland, where fly half Finn Russell has been given a 3-match ban after being sent off for foul play during his side's Six Nations victory over France. Russell was sent off in the 71st minute of Scotland's win in Paris on Friday night after catching Bryce Doolan near the throat with his elbow as he attempted to fend off the France fullback. And we'll touch down in Rwanda, where the NBA's Basketball Africa League is slated to open its inaugural 14-day season on the 16th of May in Kigali. The league will feature a dozen club teams from across Africa, with 16 games being held at Kigali Arena in Rwanda and concluding with the title game on the 30th of May. The Basketball Africa League was initially expected to debut in March last year in Dakar, Senegal, but was ultimately postponed due to the worldwide pandemic caused by the coronavirus.
Hi, my name is Rune Shamba, Mytoria's super striker. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudence. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
Let's kick off the beautiful game with the news that Sergio Aguero has vowed to continue playing at the highest level after Manchester City confirmed their all-time record goal scorer will leave the club at the end of the season when his contract expires. City manager Pep Guardiola met with Aguero to inform him of the club's decision not to renew his deal after a season spent largely on the sidelines with injuries and illness keeping him to only 14 appearances. Let's hear from Manchester City legend Yaya Toure, who paid tribute to Aguero.
I think for me, Aguero, everybody know how much I love Aguero. And for me, he's always been the best striker in Manchester City without respect of Tevez and all the rest of the lads. When he came, he was short guys, always smiley guys, nice boy, just try to learn and understand him. Working with him, I think it's been a great pleasure, you know. And of course, when things are so nice, you want to see it carry on, but at the end of the day, everything comes to the end. It's quite sad for the fans as the ex-player and as the ex-partner of Aguero. But we will try to adapt. If we have to sign another club, it's going to be quite difficult to see that. But that's what it is. That's what it is football. You know, everything is going well. And I think everything is possible. You know, they are on a good line. And of course, this news from Aguero, you know, a bit difficult, you know, but I think now all the lads, all his teammates and the club, you know what I mean, they're going to try to push on forward just to make it that for him, you know, because I think he's going to be one of the last from this era, you know.
While the Argentina international has helped Man City win 4 Premier League titles, an FA Cup and 5 League Cups over his 10-year stay in the East Lancs with the club, still chasing a quadruple this season. No doubt, Alois, that Kun Aguero is a City legend and one of the icons of Premier League football.
Yes, of course, Mike, you know, a very, very accomplished goal scorer, and he has scored so many goals and he has done well for Manchester City, definitely a legend. And when I look at the situation of those statues where David Silva got a statue and also the former captain also got the statue, he is one of the people, that was I was saying, he also deserves one. You know, he also deserves a statue at Manchester City. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think he deserves it. He has been a loyal son of Manchester City. He has done well for the club, and he is a glorified footballer as well, as far as English football is concerned, not just for Man City. So, I agree with you 100%. He is a legend, and he deserves the statue at Man City.
Well, they've already announced that there will be 3 statues that are going up outside the Etihad. One of Sergio Kun Aguero, the other of David Silva, and of course the third one will be of their legendary former captain Vincent Kompany. Now, football pundit Ollie Holt says that Sergio Aguero is the standard bearer of City's emergence as one of the great powers in English football.
If we look at Aguero's place in English football, I think he was the standard bearer, or is the standard bearer, of Manchester City's emergence as one of the re-emergence, maybe one would say, as one of the powers, one of the great powers in English football. And you could argue that Vincent Kompany and David Silva were that too, but Sergio Aguero scored the goals. I think he was the symbol of City's emergence as probably the most successful team of the last decade in English football, I would say. And that's maybe where his significance is, that when we look back, we'll see him as the spearhead of that Manchester City team.
Well, Chris, I rattled off the achievements that he has managed in his 10-year stay at Manchester City. And when you take a look at what Man City has done over the last 10 years, there are no doubt now that they are the leading club in England.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt that they're the leading club in England. And I think Sergio Aguero has assisted them in doing that. 257 goals and 384 appearances, which is a record, incredible number of goals. And in order for you to win games, to win leagues, you need goal scorers like Sergio Aguero. And that's what he's managed to do with them. Over that 10-year stay, he's managed to help City win 4 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 5 League Cups, and in that particular period, and including now, they're chasing a quadruple this season, also off of the back of some of his performances. So definitely one of the players who's helped City from where they were to where they are now, right at the top of the league, at the top of Europe, basically.
Alois, I want to hear where you place him amongst the great Premier League strikers. After I've rattled off these stats, in the last decade, when we take a look at the Premier League's top scorers, Sergio Aguero is leading the way. He has scored 181 goals since the 2011-2012 season. In second place is Harry Kane, 160. Jamie Vardy is in third place with 115. When it comes to Premier League hat-tricks, in that same period, Sergio Aguero has got 12. Harry Kane is in second place with 8. Luis Suarez, who played for 3 glorious years in England, has got 6 hat-tricks. When it comes to strike rates, again, Sergio Aguero leads the way with a goal every 108.3 minutes. You have to add an incredible 14 minutes to that to get Harry Kane, who's got 122 minutes, and then Mo Salah on 129.7 minutes per goal. Where do you place him amongst the Premier League strikers?
Oh, he's way above everybody, Mike. When you look at those stats alone, you can actually tell that he has been the greatest. For me, I think in this past decade, he has been the greatest striker in England. And then it's not about scoring goals. You know, sometimes people overlook other aspects of football when they look at the stats. His movement, Mike, when he is in the team, his movement is fantastic. He has got this eye for goals. At the same time, he makes openings for teammates as well. He actually makes teammates find him. You know, when he moves, it's easy to find him. He makes other players get assists because of the way he moves, and technically as well. He's not your striker. You know, he's a striker who is actually technically gifted. He can dribble, he can set himself up, he bends them to the far post, he can shoot from afar, he can tap them in. So I think he is a complete striker, and for me, he's actually has been the greatest in the past decade.
Oh, yes, we've seen some great strikers in the Premier League. Alan Shearer, of course, he is my personal favorite, and he leads the stats as far as goal scoring is concerned. Thierry Henry, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler. But in that top draw, certainly you'll find Kun Aguero, who is in the last few months of his Manchester City contract, and he is leaving, meaning that Man City will make at least one big money signing to replace him come the end of the season.
And continuing on that, we've got a couple of transfer speculations we must absolutely discuss, especially seeing that Sergio Aguero will be leaving Manchester City. And a right fit would probably be Erling Haaland. Super agent Mino Raiola has admitted that he maybe have been too careful in moving Erling Haaland to Borussia Dortmund last year, with the Norwegian striker now the most in-demand player in world football. The race to secure his signature, though, is set to dominate the summer transfer window, with Real Madrid, Chelsea, Manchester City and Manchester United expected to compete fiercely to recruit him. Alois, as a player, in fact, as Mino Raiola, where would you think the best place for Haaland to go is next?
It's kind of tricky, because I actually believe that Haaland can fit in any team, wherever he wants to go, because he makes the goals. He can score goals for himself, by himself. He can do that. What I like about him is he is off the ball, and his strength is quite big. For me, when I look at him, I look at Real Madrid and think that he can actually go and do a job at Real Madrid, because I put him in the mood of of Cristiano Ronaldo. As for Man City, I am not so sure that Pep Guardiola will go for him. Pep Guardiola has got this mind of his own. I don't know. I don't see him going for Erling Haaland, to be honest. I don't see him doing that. So probably he'll end up at Real Madrid, Manchester United, or probably even Liverpool. But Man City, I still have my doubts.
Okay, so Alois has his doubts about Man City, Mike. But if you take a look at it, how many of these clubs actually have the loot for a signature like Haaland's at the moment? Take a look at Real Madrid, not necessarily able to make such a signing. Chelsea spent big in this last transfer window. Manchester United might be able to squeeze it out, but the most likely place where they can actually afford a signature is still Manchester City.
Yeah, listen, for me, I'll take a different stance to Alois as to where do you take him. You asked if I was Mino Raiola, okay? So if I'm Mino Raiola, I don't take him to Spain. I leave that for later. Here is a young man who's entering his prime, okay? And so football, as we know it, is more than just about football. It's also about making money, especially if you're an agent. How best do I maximize out of this talent? I first of all take him to England. That is the destination I will take him. It doesn't matter who he's going to play for, whether it's City, whether it's United, whether it's Liverpool, but I'll take him to England knowing that he's going to spend a maximum 5 seasons and then he can make the big money move again to one of the Spanish giants. So I would definitely take him to England first and then take him to Spain. Pretty much like what happened with Cristiano Ronaldo when he left Portugal, that he went via Manchester United and then he got a world record transfer into Real Madrid. So I think Haaland is still young. And there's still plenty of money to be made from this young man. But if you take him to Real Madrid, there is the danger that you won't be able to onward sell him after that as much as you would if you took him somewhere else and then took him to Real Madrid later.
A lot of money to be made and a lot of football still to be played by Haaland. He scored 33 goals in 31 appearances this season. Another prolific goal scorer, Mohamed Salah. He's once again thrown his Liverpool future into doubt by admitting that he would be interested in a move to Spain. The Egyptian forward out of contract at the end of the 2023 season. And in an interview with Marca, Salah admitted that it's possible he could leave Anfield for a move to Spain in the future. Alois, this is not necessarily surprising coming from a goal scorer and the type of player that Mohamed Salah is.
Yeah, I think he's already angling a move to Spain. You know, it actually fits with what Mike has just said. That start in England, then make a big name for yourself, then you make that big money move to Spain. I think that's what he is now angling for. And I see him going to Barcelona. When I look at Mohamed Salah, he's written Barcelona all over his forehead. So for me, I think he's already trying to make his way there and obviously trying to alert people that, you know what, here I am, come get me.
We'll keep you posted on those movements as soon as that transfer window opens. But for tonight, still some key World Cup European qualifiers. I'm not sure if you'd be heartbroken if you missed any of these. Wales versus the Czech Republic, Luxembourg versus Portugal. Should make for some interesting viewing if you are absolutely that pressed.
That's all we have time for. We'll catch you tomorrow for Wacky Wednesday. Don't miss it. For now, may God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.